so often you have unrequited love. You're feeling strongly, they're not. They're feeling strongly. You're like, whoa, back off a little bit, But for us, it was perfect.
Yeah. Hey everyone, this is Yvette Hampton. Welcome back to the Schoolhouse Rocked Podcast. Look who's back on the show with me this week. It's Sam Sorbo. You guys, man, okay, we're pre-recording this. So there's the part of me that wants to be like, can you believe how great this past weekend was? Because Schoolhouse Rocked just opened up for the whole world and it was amazing. But I can't say that yet because we're recording this earlier than that date.
Of course you can say that.
Well, but I don't know.
The beauty of television or something.
Well, I know, but then I feel like I'm being fake because I'm, I don't know yet, but I know it's going to be amazing. And the only reason I know that is because it's going to be the work of the Lord.
Yes. And if you convince one family and save one child,
amen,
from enslavement to the Borg, then you have succeeded. And so I guarantee that you will be successful in this endeavor. So
yeah, well, all for God's glory. So it is Monday, November 15th, and Schoolhouse Rock just released 3 days ago on Friday, November 12th. And so I hope that many of you got to see it.
And it brought the internet down.
It literally crashed the entire internet because everyone was wanting to watch it at the same time.
Al Gore was beside himself.
Oh, the inventor of the internet. Anyhow,
have you heard this meme that Jeff Bezos literally could be Santa Claus because he's got everybody's wish list and he can deliver, and he's got the drones. Those are his reindeer. And he's even got, like, if you're on the naughty list, he can actually send a drone after you too. So.
Oh, good golly.
But he just refuses to be Santa Claus.
Oh, that's funny. No, I have not seen that one. Well, we don't do Santa in our home. So there you have it. That's probably why I haven't seen it. Anyway, I hope you guys got to see the movie. If you have not yet seen it, it is not too late. You actually have until December 31st and beyond. It doesn't end on December 31st, but you can stream it to your home from now until December 31st. Go to schoolhouserocked.com and it has all the links and information that you need. Invite your friends, invite your family, invite your neighbors, invite anyone you can think of into your home to watch this film because you guys, it is so powerful. We just stand in awe of what the Lord has done. So invite people over, watch the movie. You can also do a group showing. So if you want to show it at your church or your homeschool co-op or at a local theater, you can do that as well. There are links on the website to both options to either stream it to your home or to show it yourself and host a showing locally. So you can find information on both of those things at schoolhouserocked.com. But Sam is part of our Meet the Cast lineup because if you have seen the movie, you know that Sam is an important part of the cast, has a very strong voice in the movie. And so Sam's been on the podcast a few times already. I want to say probably 3 or 4 times already. And we've talked about homeschooling. We've talked about the why. We've talked about, all things homeschooling. And so I know you've heard that from her, but we really want to get to know Sam Sorbo and the Sorbo family this week through Sam. And so we're going to just get kind of, not too deep, but we're going to get a little personal with Sam and just learn more about who she is as a person, who she is as a mom, as a wife, and who the Sorbo family is. So Sam, welcome back to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's been kind
of... Not sure how interesting this episode is going to be, however.
Oh, it's going to be interesting. Here's why. I'm going to tell you why. Because I'm a stalker. Well, I'm one of those people that and everyone is, let's just be honest.
It is more interesting already. Keep going.
We all are. Whenever you learn of somebody who especially has some sort of celebrity status, you want to look into them. You want to know who they are. You want to know what their kids look like. You want to know what their husband looks like. You want to know about their family and about, just them as people. At least I do, so if there are people, if they're on Facebook, I want to go to their Facebook page and figure out who these people really are. And so I'm going to tell the story really quickly. I've told this before, but I'm going to tell it really quickly about how you and I met. And then we'll kind of back up to getting to know you a little bit. But this was really funny. We had several people. We were still early in the process of filming for Schoolhouse Rocked, and we'd had several people who said, you need to get Sam Sorbo in this movie. And so we were like, okay, I don't know how that would be possible, but sure. And several months went by. You were living in California and we were living in Georgia at the time. And so part of my thought was like, she's on the other side of the country, ridiculous to think that because you spend half of your life traveling. So you're all over the place. So I think someone else had sent us a message or something. I can't even remember how this part of the story happened, but Garrett just said to me one morning, he said, we really do need to reach out to Sam Sorbo and see if we can interview her for the movie. And I was like, okay, I have no idea how to get a hold of this lady, but I'll figure it out because I'm pretty good at doing that now. So I found your website. And oftentimes when you go to people's website and you fill out the contact form, you never hear anything back. Well, I filled out the contact form, said, here's who we are, here's what we're doing. And I'm going to let you tell your side of the story too, Sam, because your side's pretty funny. I said, here's who we are.
I get to talk on the podcast?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm going to let you talk. Here's the movie that we're making. Call me, or I think I gave you my number and I said, I would love to talk with you about this. So I don't know, a couple hours later, you called me.
Yeah.
And you were like, this is Sam Sorbo. And I was like, what?
It worked.
It worked.
Well, and you're right, and it's not everybody that I call. I get a lot of emails and I read them.
Right. But you had heard of the movie. So you tell your side of the story now.
I had heard of the movie. I'm trying to remember. I have a terrible memory.
Do you want me to tell your side of the story?
Yeah, tell my side of the story.
Okay.
You'll do better. You'll do yourself better justice than I will, I'm sure.
So feel free to interject, but you called me that day and you said, because you were doing classical conversations. And so you had seen the trailer and information rolling in about it.
I called you and I said, you need me in your movie.
Right. And you said,
why
I was wondering,
not in your
right,
movie?
Exactly. You were like, I was wondering why I hadn't been invited yet to be part of the cast. And I was like,
no, it's true because anybody who is in this fight, and it's a fight to convince people that they should prefer freedom. And that's the way that's the way that I couch the argument these days. Because I've since I started doing my show on Epic TV, I've really dived into the underbelly of all of this stuff. So the stuff that we've take for granted, it's so surface and it's just always been there and we take it for granted. I'm actually, really questioning and delving into. And for instance, you have to raise your hand to ask a question. What does that teach you? Like, think about it. We all do it. And even as adults, we now do it when we are gathered together. People will raise their hand before they speak. Basically, it's a deterrent to you asking questions. In fact, the message is don't question. And so when you start to, you just sort of break these ideas down, these basic elements that everybody takes for granted, you break them down. The schools teach conformity. If you stand out, you will either be ridiculed, you could be promoted, but chances are you'll be ridiculed. Chances are you'll be bullied. Chances are better that it's bad to stand out. So we teach conformity. We are actually imposing conformity on our students. And yet, as Christians, you and I believe we are created individually.
Right.
For our individuality, for freedom. We're teaching children servitude and conformity in school. And so now I put the battle in those terms. If you like freedom and you want your children to know freedom, and I mean freedom, just freedom from the Borg, from the thought center thing, where it's always follow the leader. It's find an expert, because that's the school paradigm.
Right.
The expert stands at the head of the class. He or she is the expert, knows everything. You will be spoon-fed your information. Your job is to open your mouth and swallow. Do not question. When I start to put it in those terms, you really start to see, it's an anti-freedom agenda.
Right. It's being taught what to think, not how to think.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you're taught what to think and not how to think, that's servitude. That's slavery.
Right.
We don't want you thinking for yourself.
Agreed. Well, I don't know how we got off on this tangent, but that's okay.
Because I can't help myself.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
What we do at IEW is break through the noise of the grammar and the writing prompts, and we say, this is what you do, step by step. And I've witnessed it over and over again, both watching Andrew teach and hearing from parents, this is the best writing program. We've made it so easy and made it really affordable. So any mom can teach writing to their children using our course, and we guarantee it.
To try 3 weeks of free lessons, visit IEW.com. We are back with Sam. Okay, so we're going to go back to how we met. That's what we were talking about. And it's okay if we rabbit trail because that's what we do when we talk anyway. So we got on the phone, we talked about the movie, and I said, Sam, I don't know what your schedule is. I don't know how we would meet up with you because, again, we're in Georgia and you're in California. We have no plans to go to California anytime soon, nor can we afford to do that. And he said, oh, well, I'm in Florida right now. And I was like, well, what? And you were in Tampa, you and your family, your whole family was there. And you guys were there filming a movie. And you said, well, I have some free time on Sunday afternoon. If you want to come down to where we are, I can, I'd be happy to interview for the movie. And I was like, okay, we looked it up. You were only like 5 hours from us, which, once you've traveled the country, 5 hours is, the snap of a finger. So sure enough, we did. We got in our car a few days later and we were in Tampa that day and just had a great day filming with you and getting to know your family. It was really cool. I remember our girls, my oldest and your youngest are very close in age. And it's kind of funny because they're both introverts, but they just hit it off. They made a connection with each other. And my youngest daughter was there too. So the 3 girls played all day together. They played games, actually, even with your boys as well. All of the kids, they played. Your kids taught my girls how to play code names.
Yes.
It's such a fun game. We love that game. And so we ended up getting it for Christmas. I think the next year they kept saying, we got to get this game. It was so fun. We played it with the Sorbo kids and for hours. I mean, we were filming and setting up for hours and hours, pretty much the whole day. And so our kids just, it really is such a testament to these homeschooled kids who just know how to just do life. They kind of helped us set up a little bit, but then they were off on their own and they just let us do our thing, and they got along so well with each other and really just enjoyed getting to know one another. Then we filmed and went to dinner afterwards with you and your sister and brother-in-law, and I think a few other people. I don't know, but it was really fun. Anyway, it was exciting.
Kevin was also there.
He came in while we were filming, or before we started filming. He came in for a little while, and then he actually had to go on set to finish filming. So he didn't join us for dinner, but he was there for a little while.
That's right.
While we were filming. So, and he's a very nice guy. So let's talk about this guy. Let's start with the Sorbo family. How did you and Kevin meet? And kind of unfold that story for us, for those who don't know.
Well, it is a kind of a crazy story. So I was an actress and I was booked to go shoot Hercules, which was a television show that shot down in New Zealand. It was the #1 show in the world at the time. And of course, starred Kevin Sorbo. And I went down there, and there's a lot more to the story, but I'll shortcut it because that would be the whole hour. We fell in love, and so we decided that we would be married. We were engaged within 6 months, and we set the date for a year later. And then about 4 months before we were supposed to get married, Kevin had a health crisis during which he suffered 3 strokes in his brain. And that really debilitated him completely.
Yeah.
So he spent the next 4 months basically drooling on the couch. They shut down production. They did a bunch of script rewriting and stuff. They didn't want to actually close the show.
Right. Because he was the star.
Yeah. It happened right before their hiatus. Or during, actually right on their hiatus. And so what they decided to do, they were supposed to come back and shoot a few more to finish the season or something. And so instead they shot a few without him, I think. And then, wow, this is taxing my brain. Anyway, he was pretty much a vegetable. I mean, he was really bad. And the beginning of his recovery was, we would go for a half-hour walk in the morning, and then he'd spend the rest of the day literally just drooling on the couch, like just really unable to do much of anything. His brain was fried.
Yeah. Wow.
And he was dizzy, and he had just a whole bunch of symptoms. If you want the full story, it's in his book True Strength, which
Yeah.
is really a great testimony to your personal strength and to the strength that God gives you both. And that's why it's called True Strength, because he played the strongest guy on TV,
Yeah.
but that wasn't the truth, right? So we decided that we would get married anyway. He offered me the chance to opt out, and I didn't take him up on it. And so we decided to get married anyway. And we got married on January 5th and decided that
Of
he
what
would go
year? What year did you get married?
98,
98. Okay.
and decided that he would go back to work. And that was a big decision that in hindsight, I think still was the right decision. It was not maybe the best decision for his recovery physically,
Mm-hmm.
but mentally, it was the only decision I could make because he is his work.
Yeah.
And he really needed, and that's why he got sick in the first place. But there was no opportunity for him to just completely reinvent himself
Yeah.
if he didn't go back to work. And so that was a tough call. I will say, I don't think that he was really in his right mind.
Yeah.
He didn't really recognize exactly what had happened to him. And
Yeah.
it took a long time for him to work through everything. It was a long and arduous path to recovery. It took a full 3 years.
Wow.
He
long
didn't
time.
believe that he was recovering for at least a year.
Mm.
The small steps that he took, and the doctor said no after the first 8 months or 4 months or whatever it was, don't expect any further recovery.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Which, between you and me, shame on them.
Yeah.
You should never put that kind of
Oh,
a
yeah.
curse on your patients.
Yeah.
But I was his cheerleader,
Yeah.
and I adapted to the role very easily. Or chief kibitzer, I like to call myself. He talks about it. He talks about it when he does his speaking engagements, and he that it was only because of my incessant nagging
Yeah.
that
he made it through.
that he made it through. It was kind of funny. So yeah.
Can I
and
ask you a
then-
question?
Yes,
Did
go
you
ahead.
ever, you said that he gave you the option to opt out. Was there ever a moment where you felt like, I just don't know that I could handle this? And because you said this was just 4 months before you got married. So you had no way of knowing really what the outcome would be, whether or not he would fully recover or not. So did you ever consider like, I don't know that I want, maybe I'll be his friend and take care of him, but I don't know that I want to commit to this for the rest of my life? Was that ever a consideration, or did you just know this is what God's calling me to do and this is the man that I'm supposed to marry?
So when I met Kevin, he was the perfect man.
Mm-hmm.
And before I met him, I had a long talk with God. And I said, okay, God, I get that there's going to be a compromise. I'm not going to meet Mr. Right. I'm not going to meet the perfect guy. But I need you to tell me what the compromise is, because I just don't understand. Like, I'm meeting all these guys, and none of them really fit the bill. Like, I could see the end before I started dating them. I mean, there were several times when I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to start dating you because I know exactly how this ends.
Right.
And other guys I agreed to date because they were cute and it was fun, but I still knew exactly how it would end. And so I said to God, you're going to have to let me know. Is he going to be stupid? Is he going to be short? Is he going to be insecure? Is he going to be like all these sort of hiccups that I was running into? Because I really wanted a family. I wanted that thing, that family, that children, that relationship. And I flew down to New Zealand to shoot Hercules, and Kevin was absolutely perfect. More perfect than I would ever have dared to dream of, because I never dreamt of a guy who was good looking, tall, fat, fantastic body, super successful. That wasn't my dream. My dream was, great guy, intelligent, fun, good sense of humor. Like, that was like, my dream didn't extend as far as all that. And there's the guy who's the star, for obvious reasons, of the #1 show in the world. And I so like him. And in fact, I called my girlfriend and I said, I think I really like this guy. She goes, the Hercules guy? And I said, yes, Renee, he's like me, only a man.
Uh-huh.
Like, we were so compatible.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was perfect. And so I came back and we pursued this relationship. It was long distance. And mind you, the first day when he sort of started pursuing me down there, I looked at him because he's like, how are we going to make this work? And I'm like, make what work? Like, it's not like we were dating already. It was
Right.
just like, hey, we should date. We should like do this thing.
Because you guys had a
whatever.
role together on Hercules, right?
I played a
Right.
princess.
Okay.
And he played, it was called Prince Hercules. He played that Hercules got amnesia and became a prince. They convinced him that he was my long lost husband.
Okay.
And I went along with the ruse, but as the princess, I fell in love with him. And so in the end, I saved the day and revealed to him that he's actually Hercules, and I bring his memory back through breaking the curse or whatever.
Okay.
And so, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
look, our first scene together was the goodbye scene, because often they will schedule the goodbye scene first, because by the time the show ends, the actors typically hate each other. And
Oh,
so for
wow.
them to do a convincing goodbye, I love you forever scene is very hard. So they put it first. So our first scene together, I'm in my regal outfit with, you know, hair down to, you know, the makeup, the beautiful clothes. We're standing on a drawbridge of a castle over a moat, and the smoke is wafting up around us. It's nighttime. Like, you can't write it more romantic than it was, you know? And we have to kiss. So we kissed on our first scene together, which was the second evening that we knew each other.
Oh, wow.
But he started flirting with me right away because we had met the night before for the read through, and it was just undeniable. There was just something in the air.
Mhm.
And so then the next day he's talking to me. He's like, how are we going to make this work? You know, let's, you know, figure this out. And I looked at him and I said, look, I don't date actors. I don't date long distance. And I don't date guys with long hair. And what I meant was I don't date good looking guys. I never really dated, like, they weren't bad looking, but I never went for like the model type. And Kevin was a big time model, you know. He is still a very good looking man, and that I found that intimidating. And typically very good looking men, especially those who have become models, are a little full of themselves or gay or both, or, you know, like it's just like a thing. So I was like, no, dude, no. But then he turned out to be this perfect guy. And what I mean is perfect for me.
Right.
It's not that he doesn't have flaws.
Sure.
It's that he was perfect for me. And so I came back home and we pursued a long distance relationship, which was very strong because we both felt the same way, which was just, you know, so often you have unrequited love. You know, you're feeling strongly, they're not, they're feeling strongly. You're like, whoa, back off a little bit, you know. But for us, it was like, it was perfect.
Yeah.
And then he had 3 strokes. And I was in the intensive care. And I went to the intensive care room to talk to him because I had booked a TV commercial that was a national network spot, which is like the holy grail. It's easy money. You're in, you're out. It was 3 days shooting in New York, which means first class airfare, first class hotel, a lot of money. And then the commercial runs and runs and runs, and you get residuals and residuals. I mean, ka-ching. This was the holy grail in a sense. And mind you, it was the holy grail for me because after I did the show Hercules, I realized while I was watching him do the show, and like he was fascinating to me. Like I was just smitten and everything that he did. And I watched him rehearse his fight scenes, and it was like choreographed like a dance, and
Wow,
he did
yeah.
all of his own fights.
Yeah.
And I saw the amount of work that he put in literally on the plane. I said, okay, God, I don't want my own show. Because up until that time, I was like, okay, I'm ready, God. I want my own show. I can do this. I said on the plane, God, I don't want my own show because it's way too much work. And I didn't want to have to do, you know, 20 hours a day.
Right. Yeah.
Which is basically what Kevin was doing at the time.
Yeah.
I just didn't recognize it was too much even for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's too much for anybody. Yes, even the guy playing Hercules. It was too much, and that's why he got sick.
Yeah.
So I booked this national network spot for, of all things, ice cream, which at that time was like my favorite thing ever. Like you couldn't write it any better than this. Of course it was this. Of course God laid the gauntlet down. And I went into the intensive care room and I said, look, I booked the job in New York. Now I had auditioned before he got sick. So it wasn't like I was just out auditioning.
Right.
You know, I said, they came back and they said they want me. I'm supposed to leave tomorrow for 3 days. Do you want me not to go? And he's lying completely immobile because they've flushed his body full of blood thinners. So if he moves the wrong way, he could tear and bleed out.
Oh my!
They wouldn't be able to stop the blood because it wouldn't clot. And he's lying there, the healthiest guy in the world, the guy who works out 2 hours every day.
Wow.
And goes for a jog and plays basketball. Like that guy is lying inert on a hospital bed, wondering what the heck just hit him, what kind of bus it was. And I said, do you want me not to go? And he said, well, yeah, I want you not to go. And I literally said, oh, that's the compromise. Okay, done.
Yeah.
That was it. So I never doubted.
Yeah.
Because God was very clear. You can have the ice cream commercial. You can have the money.
Yeah.
You can keep the career.
Or you can have this.
Or you can have this.
Yeah.
This is my offer.
Yeah.
And I it's funny because I look back, I think it was the Golden Globes a while ago, and the actress, I believe her name was Michelle Williams, but sometimes I get names wrong. But in accepting her Golden Globe, she thanked her abortion.
Oh yeah.
And I look at that and I go, man, you're so ignorant.
Yeah.
The story that I tell about abortion is, I had a friend whose friend came to him. She came to him and she said, I need your help. I got knocked up and the guy's a loser and I don't want to have anything to do with him or whatever. Some story like there's just nobody else and I'm on my own and I can't do this. And so will you come with me to have the abortion? And he said, look, I want to be supportive of you, but I can't do that. And so they talked it out for a very long time, back and forth. But the ultimate sort of upshot of their conversation was, he said to her, listen, you're giving up the greatest love story of your life in doing this. And I don't want you to lose out because of a mistake that you're about to make. Trust me, this child is the greatest love story that you will ever know. And that's why I'm in this fight, because parents don't understand that they're sacrificing. Okay, they birthed the children have life, but now they're sacrificing their children at the doorstep of the school, of the institution.
Right.
They're sacrificing so much and they have no idea. And by the way, about 5 months ago, I got a photo of the young man getting married.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's amazing. We are out of time, but we're going to continue this conversation on Wednesday. So thank you so much, Sam, for opening up to us, being with us, letting us get to know you personally. You guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, go to schoolhouserocked.com. Find out all the information you need to watch the movie if you haven't already seen it. Maybe even purchase it for a friend. You can actually purchase a virtual ticket and send it to a friend. That is a great way to just minister to a friend who might need to see this movie. So schoolhouserock.com. Also, if you have not yet left a review for the podcast, we would love it if you would do that. We are always so encouraged by those, and it really, really, really does help us to get the word out about the podcast. The more people who know about homeschooling, the more people who need the encouragement that we bring with this podcast. So please leave a review on the podcast app as well. Thank you so much. We'll see you back here on Wednesday. Have a great day. Bye.
Well, first of all, I think the quality of education has steadily deteriorated in America.
Tell me about your education, if you don't mind telling us about it.
So I was a military kid. I went to a bunch of public schools, and I would say my education is pretty mediocre. My math and science skills are pretty low, probably based on, I don't know if it's lower than average, but what's that saying, I'd say overwhelmingly meh.
From your perspective, how do you think the public schools in America are doing?
Not great. I think mostly public schools about indoctrination right now. I know that standardization, the increase in that, has caused a lot of teachers to sort of lose their passion.
I taught kindergarten in a traditional public school. And the curriculum with the mandated testing has changed so much. There's really no time for play, socialization. It's just like numbers, alphabet, words, phonics.
I have been in situations where parents are trying to help third graders with their homework and they can't do it because it doesn't make sense. We find that the student will say, well, if I don't do it, the way my teacher said, then it doesn't matter if I had the right answer,
Right.
It's wrong.
We grow up in a system, typically, that we think that we need somebody up at a blackboard writing it down and us taking, like there's a standard protocol to learning. And I think that that's stifling. It certainly stifled me when I was in school.
I, for one, was a child who was pretty much always just painfully bored in school. I just remember most of school was about how to survive this excruciating boredom and staying in one spot, and you couldn't work ahead, you couldn't do anything other than what everybody else was doing. For me, real life started when school ended.
I did not enjoy learning, and I was dissuaded from writing because I was told I was math and science, and I did love math and science, and now I'm an author. So go figure.
So what do you think the solution is?
I don't have any solutions, but it's definitely not going well.
And it's not easy to come up with, here's the one solution. In other words, dear old United States government, they can't legislate and come up with a solution that's universal.
No one is really able to change the great Titanic of institutional education. It is going along its path, and it is essentially unturnable and unchangeable. I mean, let's face it, if money could have fixed public education, it would have done so long ago. If the newest iteration of standards could have changed public education, it would have done so long ago. And so we continue to throw things that don't work at this great ship of institutional education, trying to change what it is, and it's not worked, and it's not likely to work until it really kind of breaks apart and has to be redesigned. And in the meantime, what's happening, people are not waiting for it to sink and break apart. They're jumping off and finding other ways to get where they want to go.